Hello everybody, my name is Souls Convoy, and today I'm taking a look at a Miniforce Dinoid Warrior REXKAISER. This is a Korean transforming robot toy line that's an original property by SAMG Entertainment, who I believe also does Metal Cardbot. A friend of mine, Warp, has lended me to this for review, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. I've heard this toy line talked about a lot in Transformers related spaces. It's shown up on TFW, Discord servers, etc. And this is my first time taking a look at one in person. I don't have the box. It was shipped from AliExpress with no box, but for a pretty affordable price and packed really securely. But the box is pretty cool. You can find pictures of it online. I've never reviewed a toy from either Metal Cardbot or Miniforce before. This is my first experience, so let's get into it. Starting off visually, there's a lot going on here. It's a nice mix of there's some painted details and bare plastic, of course. It's very toyetic, obviously, which is the goal. This is very much a children's toy line. It's not collector oriented, and you can definitely feel it. The figure is hefty and robust. The plastics are super thick. There's nothing thin here or I guess breakable, really. It's very much aimed towards being playable for children. Kind of like old Unicron trilogy Transformers is the closest I can come to. Aesthetically, it is a little bit busy, and I think the dino head does protrude a little bit, but it has this really toyetic charm mixed with very, I guess, classical mecha motifs. The thighs are proportioned really well. It's very heroic. It has very classic designs for the calves and the shins. The forearms, even the shaping, it even has a permanently tilted in wrist, which is just so strange. It's if someone was making a fully designed children's toy line and coding in just mainstays of mecha design, which is really cool. There's a lot going on with the gold as well. I mean, the metallic blue here mixed with the red paint, it's very pretty. It kind of reminds me of Ninjago's design style in some ways, in terms of the color separation and all that, but that might just be me. Let me get in on that head sculpt really quickly. The head sculpt is quite good. I think sometimes his eyes can get lost in there, but for the most part they pop pretty well, especially when my hand isn't casting a shadow on it. The gold paint is really nice. The red paint is really nice. Overall, the shape of the head sculpt looks great. I like these little tiny molded cannons. There's a lot of nice small details you can miss here, and they really do pop for what is essentially meant to be, a fun time and not really a presentation piece, but it's definitely carrying its weight in both aspects. I guess I could also segue into articulation from here, and the head is on a ball joint. It can get that much down. The head posability is limited because of the nature of this. It just blocks a lot of the angles, viewing angles for the head. It can get up to there. It can swivel all the way around. Well, it stops at 90, and I forgot to put up the head crest. I had that down the whole time. So he can have a horn. I kind of like it looking more down, to be honest. I like how this looks more. If I'm being really honest, I don't know if I like that as much. I'm gonna leave it down. I actually prefer it that way. He has ratcheted shoulders that do go all the way around. This is an accessory which can be stored back here, so if you remove that, there won't be any clashing. But they do go all the way around without any problems. And as you can see, very satisfying ratchets. The shoulders can also go up to 90 degrees. Ratchet it again. You have a ratcheted bicep swivel, and then 2 clicks at the elbow. That is something I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of. Some of these clicks are really restrictive, but again, this is meant to be a durable children's toy, not a, I guess, collector-oriented action figure, so I suppose limited click counts and ranges for the joints are fine, but it does get you a bit over 90 degrees on the elbow, which is nice. I think 135 maybe, so that's pretty awesome. There is no wrist swivel, which is kind of a shame. Each finger opens individually, and they do also have clicks, and they're quite tight. but they are really robust and solid, so I'm not afraid of them breaking. They do open individually, and they do lock into place at 2 different positions. So the close, there's an intermediate position, which is like that, and then there's the open position, which is like that. So open, intermediate, closed. Let me leave those open, actually, because I'm going to need them open later. But yeah, the articulation is, I guess, up to par with, outside of the lack of wrist swivels, really. It's not really anywhere lacking compared to most modern Transformers from mainline. He does actually have, let me remove his sword here. He does have, okay. He does have an ab crunch. I don't really think it gets you like that much, if I'm being honest. But it is an ab crunch. It's like 1 click, but it's there. It's fun. These hip skirts do kick up, and these are a really strong ratchet. Not quite to 90, there's a little bit of clashing right there, but they do go out. So you can get about that much on the spread. Very loud ratchet. The legs can go forward to almost 90 degrees, and they can go back to, I guess, 75 degrees. He does have a ratcheted thigh swivel that gets you 360. He has a ratcheted knee that goes like 1 click past 90, I believe. These are also opposable, however you may wish, in a ball joint. And then the ankles can swivel around for transformation mostly. And then they do have ratcheted ankle tilt in both directions. There's also like a little bit of play up and down for the ankle, but not a lot that's significant. So the articulation is absolutely there. It's not, you know, like anything spectacular, right? Obviously. But considering this is supposed to be like a very chunky and simplistic and I guess children's toy vibe, it's on par with most generation stuff. Just missing double jointed knees and elbows and a wrist swivel, and otherwise it would be on par with most, I guess, leader class toys. He does have a bunch of accessories, obviously, that we're going to take a look at. The biggest of which is this absolutely massive sword. Let me actually... So, cut so I can go get a ruler. The sword measures approximately 9.5 inches long, so a very large sword. REXKAISER himself, for example, is almost 12 inches tall to the top of his head. I would say he's around 11 and probably half an inch. The main reason I wanted to show off the length of the sword is to show that because of the strength of his ratchets, even with the sword held up in his hand fully, it takes a significant amount of force for that ratchet to fail. So I have to push down with full effort. And under no way is this struggling to support the weight of that large sword. And this is not hollow. This feels very robust and does weigh a significant amount. I've never really seen a toy handle an accessory of this bulk with such relative ease. The way the sword connects is the same way all of his handheld accessories connect. It has a slot here for the tabs in his hand. The other 2 accessories are these shoulder blasters, and they come fully, they retract for dyno mode. But you can fold out this handle, fold in that adapter, which connects it to the back of his shoulder armor. And then there is a slot here. Sorry, the lighting is just not cooperating with me at all. There's a slot right there. Because it's black plastic on black plastic, it's a bit hard to see. And there's a tab in there. I will say the guns are a little bit harder to tab in than the sword. They're just a little bit more finicky. But once you get them tabbed in, they are very secure, and you can wrap the fingers around them. And again, no issues holding these. They're also pretty heavy. Another thing you can do with the guns that I like to do is that you can put them back in the shoulder gun formation. And and you just rotate this on the ball joint it's attached to. These are posable in a ball joint, which I guess I forgot during articulation. And you swap the sides they're on, and that allows you to give him cool shoulder cannons, which is something that I appreciate. It's just like the simple things, you know? It's like a simple reuse of an accessory in a different way, and it allows for more potential when playing with a toy. So now he has shoulder cannons. Otherwise, for accessories, he comes with this token / key. I believe it does something in the show. That's the car mode that his headmaster turns into, which I'll show in a second. And his dinosaur mode reference, I guess. It tabs in to this thingy back here. And it's very secure. It's very difficult to remove. So that is probably a problem. It's fully die cast and painted. I'm just going to remove the headmaster unit, and this is it's a car, but this is basically the headmaster unit. It doesn't have a dedicated robot mode, and let me zoom in on the head. Again, nice head sculpt. You can remove the helmet, very tight fit, and you have this head underneath, which is not very charming and looks kind of bad. So leave the helmet on, right? The helmet stays on. This just tabs in really easily. It's very fun to do, actually. It tabs in right there with no issues. I just realized you can't see that. But it tabs in just fine on his head. For size comparisons, again, he's massive. He's almost a foot tall. So I'm gonna put him right there. And I suppose the most pertinent size comparison is a toy that's around the same price and I guess has a similar function as a large dinosaur toy. Here he is next to Commander Class Magmatron. As you can see, it's quite a difference in size and weight. I would also argue that the plastic on this guy feels a lot better than the plastic on the Commander. It's just really solid and robust, and the ratchets are wonderful. Here he is next to another large toy that's a lot more expensive than he is. This is Vans Hobbies Power Lynx Naval Commander, which I suppose is also a large gimmicky toy from third party, not official Hasbro. And it's around the same size and is probably 2 to 3 times the price. So, and again, the plastic on this guy feels better and the ratchets sound better. To finish it off, here's a deluxe who is barely in frame. He's huge. Yeah. I'm going to get him transformed, then we'll take a look at his alternate mode. Here's REXKAISER in Dino mode. He's still massive, by the way. Like, obviously, he's shorter. He only stands about, only 10 inches tall. Only. But in terms of length, I believe from the tip of his tail to the front of his head, he's around 16 inches long. So he is quite large. He is, of course, a parts former. The helmet from robot mode goes up here, and then the head section is actually like a headmaster, which just turns into this car. That might bother you. Here's the car next to his feet. It's quite small, but I think it's a neat touch. Headmasters that turn into other things. There's a cool, it's a cool thing. He's very large and imposing. He's obviously cartoony and looks like he's made for a children's cartoon, which he is. There we go, that's better lighting. But yeah, big fan. He is still, again, quite large. Here's Magmatron. So, quite big. In terms of articulation, you do get up and down at the head. There's a whole bunch of things here that can rock and move. Not much side to side, really, just a little tiny bit. The jaw can open about this much, and it can close. These arms are on ball joints at the base here, and then there's hinges in the middle, so they can do like that. Again, not much. The leg joints are retained from his robot mode legs, so they can actually splay, but he doesn't really have conventional ankle tilt. However, the size of his feet are so large he can stand it just fine on them. The tail also parts forms from his accessories, and it's not really articulated, but you can mess with the sword since it's pinned into the gun, or pegged into the guns. So, you know, that can rock up and down. He obviously has knees, but again, I don't know how dynamic. Well, you know, you could maybe get some dynamism out of him, you know. It's actually not that bad. The ankles aren't really posable. Not really, but you know, he can kind of pose. It's nice, it's chunky, and the transformation's really fun, honestly. Final thoughts on this guy. This is a really weird toy to take a look at for me. It really does take you right back to being like me personally. I was very young when the Unicron trilogy came out. So it takes you back to that Unicron trilogy / early movie toys era with how robust and chunky it is. It's obviously limited in terms of like a collector's item, like between presentation and posability. Like, you know, it has the joints. It's not doing a lot with them, but it's still decently posable enough and is on par with, I guess, mainline stuff. I mean, I know that some commanders are just about this posable, so it's not like a huge step behind. It has a waist swivel, it has 90s everywhere, I think more than 90, even has an ab crunch, so it's not really falling behind at all. The hand feel is what drives it home, and I hope like the sound of the ratchets can also give you an idea of what this toy feels like. Nothing on the market feels like this from third party or from Hasbro. It's very much like, what if we did Unicron trilogy stuff with the same materials and ratchety feel and robust chunkiness, but with more modern sensibilities. Obviously, it's a lot cartoony aesthetically, so that may not work for some people, but I think it's really fun, and the price is really what drives this. I paid, well, I didn't pay it, but like, you know, theoretically, if I did buy it for myself, it only costs $82. And considering how much it just towers over a commander and it goes eye to eye with a $220 third-party Masterpiece Armada toy, I think that for the size, even if it is really simple and the transformation is not that complex whatsoever, and the parts count probably isn't that high, but with the amount of ratchets in this thing, there's a lot of internals going on. So every joint is ratcheted pretty much. I think it's really good value for the price if you like big dumb robot toys. And it feels really good, and you could bash someone's head in with this easily. Not that you should, of course, for legal reasons. I'm just saying that, like, it's robust, it's chunky, it's built like a brick tank. The aesthetics, again, may not be for you, but I don't think they're bad. I think it's pretty awesome, actually. And it's a ton of fun. If you like fun toys, I think you should definitely give Miniforce and Metal Cardbot a look, especially if you like fun transforming toys, because they're really cooking from, like, a value to, like, design standpoint. I think this is really something special, and maybe is a little bit of what we're missing in the modern day between official and third party, where even official is like, you know, doing more collector oriented toys, right? Like that new Studio Series Seeker kind of looks like a same aesthetic as like third party Masterpiece. I mean, it looks like it matches New Age's Romulus, which is like a super tune accurate toy. So it's nice to get like a change of pace thing, even if they're not actually Transformers, and it's just like an original property by somebody else. It's fun. Some people might be turned off by the parts forming, but I don't think it's anything different from a usual headmaster / using weapons in the transformation type deal, so I don't think it's an issue. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. Thank you to Warp for sending me this for review. I really appreciate it. I had a great time with it. Fun toy. I can definitely recommend this if you're into the chunky Unicron trilogy aesthetic or just fun Transformers in general. That's it from me, guys. Peace.